Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Wednesday, August 5th. This is your afternoon update on what is topping WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We have a lot to get through for you today, this afternoon. First up, we're going to run down the new numbers from the Ohio Department of Health on COVID-19 and let you know where our positivity rating stands, which is good news. Then we'll be bringing in our senior health correspondent Monica Robins, who talked exclusively today with Allan, the Cuyahoga County Board of Health Commissioner, who was recently discovered to have worn blackface 30 years ago. We'll let you know what he is saying today. Then we'll take a look at an interesting study that asks the question of whether men are doing more housework in heterosexual relationships. We'll also give you details on the Cleveland Museum of Art's upcoming mixed party this weekend. Let you know what's new with the Cleveland Zoo's Asian Lantern Festival, and tell you where you can catch tonight's A Turning Point special. That'll be with Dave, Dino, DeNatale, and Tiffany Tarpley. First up, let's go over those latest numbers from the Ohio Department of Health related to COVID-19 today. New reported cases are up and deaths are down a bit, while new hospitalizations and new ICU numbers are also down a bit from yesterday. In the last 24 hours, there have been 1,199 new reported cases of COVID-19 here in the state of Ohio. That's up from yesterday when there were 1,143 new cases reported. That brings the total number of cases here in the state of Ohio to now 96,305, getting very close to that 100,000 number. Now remember, this number dates all the way back to March 9th when we first learned of COVID-19 being present in Ohio. And then we later learned that it was actually likely present here before that based on antibody testing. Here's the good news. Our positivity rating today is at 5%. That's the recommended threshold from the World Health Organization, and that's down from yesterday when it was 5.5%. So that means for all of the COVID-19 testing we're doing here in the state of Ohio, 5% of those tests are coming back positive based on the most up-to-date information from the Ohio Department of Health. Now, this is a couple of days lagging in this reporting, but this is the number that's being reported today. Our 7-day rolling average is now at 5.6% for a positivity rating. We also saw 26 new deaths reported in the last 24 hours related to COVID-19, down from yesterday when we saw 31 new reported deaths, bringing that total to 3,596 here in the state of Ohio. In the last 24 hours, we saw 112 new hospitalizations, which is also down from yesterday when there were 127 new hospitalizations. The total number of people who have been hospitalized related to COVID-19 is now at 11,231, and today there are 1,004 people hospitalized related to COVID-19. That's 34 less than were hospitalized yesterday. So when we take into account those new cases that have been hospitalized and people who have been discharged, we are at a total of 1,004 people who are hospitalized today. Out of those 1,004 people, 340 of them are in the intensive care unit. That's the same number as yesterday, and that's about 34% of all of those active hospitalizations are receiving treatment in the ICU. We saw 16 new ICU admissions reported in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of people who have received ICU treatment here in Ohio to now 2,609. And here's that new data that we have to report for you from the Ohio Department of Health that they've just recently made available to us. The state of Ohio is at 74% hospital bed occupancy. That means 26% of the hospital beds in the state are available for people who need treatment for COVID-19 or treatment for other things. Now let's take a look at the national and the global numbers related to COVID-19. These all come from Johns Hopkins University. In the U.S., we are getting very close to 5 million cases. That number now is 4,789,383, and the total number of deaths reported in the U.S. is now 157,266. If you take a look at the number of deaths compared to the number of known cases in the U.S., that puts us at about a 3.3% death rate. Now, when we compare the numbers in the U.S. to the global numbers, the U.S. has about 26% of the known global cases of COVID-19 and about 22.4% of the known global deaths related to COVID-19. To give you some context so you can think about those numbers, the US has about 4.25% of the total world population. So think about that. Now we look at the global numbers related to COVID-19. There have been a total of 18,609,287 reported cases of COVID-19, and globally there have been 702,164 deaths. When you compare the number of deaths to the number of known global cases, that's about a 3.8% death rate. Now we're going to be talking about Terry Allan, the Cuyahoga County Board of Health Commissioner. He spoke exclusively to our senior health correspondent, Monica Robins. While we're in the biggest health crisis of all of our lifetimes, the Cuyahoga County Health Commissioner is now asking forgiveness for a 30-year-old picture showing him in blackface at a time when racism has been declared a public health issue. So now we're going to bring in Monica Robins to let us know what Terry Allan is saying today. Monica, thanks for joining us here on 3 News Now. We appreciate you being with us.
Hi, thanks for having me, Steph. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, and it seems like you had a pretty interesting conversation today with Terry Allan talking about that blackface photo. What's the story behind that photo? Where is Terry saying this came from?
Terry was at a Halloween party at the University of Dayton back in 1990. He was in his early 20s, and for whatever reason, he decided to dress up as Buckwheat from the Little Rascals, and someone took a picture and then released that picture to the media, and this story came out yesterday. So Terry has been, doing his best to explain.
He did issue a statement apologizing. He said very succinctly it was born out of ignorance and immaturity, but you got a chance to speak with him exclusively today. What's he saying today?
He is incredibly remorseful. I mean, most of the interview near tears. And I think, for someone who I've known him for 22 years and working in public health, especially in Cuyahoga County, there have been a number of programs that he has done over the years, specifically relating to minority health. And what he said to me was he's learned so much. He's been on a journey and he has learned so much. And he is just devastated that he was ever part of that picture. And, at this point, he's essentially asking forgiveness, but he understands how angry people might be and that it may be hard to get.
When you talk about him asking for forgiveness, we'll get to in a second what the minority community in the greater Northeast Ohio area might be thinking about that. But what about his job as the Cuyahoga County Board of Health Commissioner? Is that on the line?
It's interesting because when the story came out, the Cuyahoga County Board that oversees the Board of Health came out with a statement and basically pointed to Terry's 30 years of work in public health and what he has done to help minorities be healthy in our environment, as well as what's interesting about the board is 3 out of 5 members are minority. And while they're disappointed and upset, they still think that he is the person to lead the County Board of Health despite this. But again, they recognize something someone did 30 years ago, was incredibly stupid. And Terry's well aware of that as well.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to him in that conversation? We're talking about this being 30 years ago. That's certainly a factor. Do we think this is an isolated incident?
From my understanding, I asked him if there's anything else that's going to come up that I need to know about, and he said no. He doesn't believe this was, a one-time thing. I would assume, I'm hoping this was a one-time thing, and this picture, was released, and we don't have access to the picture. We don't know who released it and why, but what we do know is that Terry is, the mea culpa all day, all yesterday. He has spoken to his staff, and especially, the minority members of his staff. 17% of the County Board of Health is made up of minorities. or African Americans, and about 3% are Latino and 2% are Asian, if I think I have my numbers right. So he basically said he talked to his staff members and, you know, just laid it out on the line. He understands how upset, and not all of them were able to forgive, but many of them, he said, were very supportive. It took some time, and he's very respectful of the fact that some people are you know, going to be legitimately angry over this, but he's hoping that his body of work over the last, you know, 3 decades of his work in public health kind of outshine one stupid event.
That is the thing about trust. It takes a lifetime to build it, only seconds to destroy it. Are you getting any kind of indication from the minority community in the greater Northeastern Ohio area how people are feeling about this? Do we think that it's possible he may be forgiven?
You know, I don't think anyone's going to forget, but, you know, one would hope, you know, he may be forgiven. I'm waiting to speak with the president of the NAACP later this afternoon, and I'll be interested to hear what she has to say about this issue. But I think Terry has built a reputation as someone who is very aware of injustice in healthcare, racism. You know, he was the one to say racism is a public health crisis 2 months ago. He came out and announced that. Many of the programs that the health department do are targeted to helping minorities be healthy. And when he said to me today was he is now very much aware of what white privilege really is. And he has been on a journey with many, many people who have taught him what it's like to you know, be someone of color and live in those terms. What we've been seeing in the last few months with the protests and everything. So he is very, very well aware of what's happening as of now. I don't believe the board is supporting him, and it'll be interesting to see what the minority community has to say about this. And if his body of work is enough to let this go away.
Well, we very much look forward to hearing to what the president of the NAACP has to say about that. I know we'll have that from you more in our TV shows tonight and also on WKYC.com. Thanks for being with us today, Monica. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephanie.
That was our senior health correspondent, Monica Robins, who had a chance to speak exclusively today with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health Commissioner, Terry Allan, about that incident where a photo came out where he was shown in blackface from a Halloween party in 1990. So we'll follow that on WKYC.com and also on our WKYC app. Switching gears to talk about something that's sort of COVID-19 related, there is a new study out that is showing that men are doing more housework during the pandemic. Now, this is a study that focused exclusively on heterosexual couples. So we are talking about pairings of men and women here when we talk about these statistics about how chores are being shared around the house. So this report was published by the Council on Contemporary Families, and it found that prior to the pandemic, only 26% of parents reported that they were equally sharing housework. But now, among parental couples of men and women, 41% say that they are evenly dividing the housework. And 52% of couples now say that they split the child work equally in regards to taking care of young children. Previously, prior to the pandemic, it was 41% of couples who said that they shared child work relatively equally between couples of men and women. Now, the researchers behind this study say it basically seems to be a result of everyone just being kind of immersed in it at home. People being at home because they're out of work, people being at home because they are working from home. The researchers said that based on paternity leave research, that tends to show that men who take paternity leave, especially if that's for an extensive period of time, they keep doing housework and keeping up with childcare even after returning back to work after their paternity leave is up. And the researchers also said that the longer the pandemic lasts, the more possible, or maybe it will be possible, that these patterns of domestic involvement for men that are establishing now, meaning the more equally shared work between these heterosexual couples, will become a new normal. Now, we asked a question on WKYC.com. We put it a little bit more inclusively because we want to involve everyone and include everyone. Of course, there are probably many studies out there that talk about different romantic relationships, but what we want to know is if you and your partner split household chores evenly. Let us know that at WKYC.com/vote now. Also, if you all want to send me any messages about this now, I'm a single person and I don't have any children. So the only person who's doing any housework in this house is me. It's definitely not Winston the Puggle. He's not picking up any slack. But I would love to know what all of you people out there who are coupled up are experiencing, especially those of you who have children, how you're experiencing that split and how the pandemic has potentially changed things in your house. So let me know. My Instagram and my Twitter handle is _Stephanie Haney. And of course, we want you to vote at WKYC.com/vote now. Here's some things for you to keep in mind for your upcoming entertainment options. The Cleveland Museum of Art will be hosting Mix Viva this Friday because it is the first Friday of the month. So that means it's time for CMA Mix, and they are doing it virtually. This will be the third time that they've actually done it virtually. They had to cancel the event in April and they had to cancel the event in May, but starting in June, they started doing it virtually. And so this Friday will be Mix Viva, and it's inspired by the current show, A Graphic Revolution, Prints and Drawings in Latin America. That's the current exhibit that's at the Cleveland Museum of Art. They even have a prep kit for you to get ready for this virtual dance party. It has a Spotify list, a list of local Latin-owned restaurants, which includes food from Brazil, Chile, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Mexico, where you can get takeout dinner if you want to have that for your Mix Viva experience. Also, instructional dance videos and artist bios and downloadable Zoom backgrounds, so you can really get into the spirit for that dance party. The dance party is on Friday from 8 to 9 p.m., and DJ Cause and Effect will be spinning Latin music, and there will be visuals from Texas artist Michael Menchaca, and his work is actually featured in the exhibit. So if you want to know how to get into the virtual dance party, we've got all that info on WKYC.com and in our WKYC app. Also, something to keep in mind, there is now a new drive-through option at the Cleveland Zoo's Asian Lantern Festival. Just one more option people now have in order to check out this beautiful event that is going now through August 23rd, but the drive-through option is only for a limited time. You can do the drive-through option on August 10th and 11th, or the 17th and 18th, and that is from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Now, if you just want to walk through the Asian Lantern Festival, you can do that between now and August 23rd, Wednesday through Sunday. That's from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And you don't need reservations to get into the zoo, but you do need reservations for the Asian Lantern Festival, whether you want to walk through it or drive through it. So keep that in mind. Also want to let you know about something special we have going on tonight. We have a Turning Point special tonight that will be hosted by Dave, Dino, DeNatale, and also Tiffany Tarpley. This will be focusing on the impact of sports on the social justice moment. We are at a turning point in social justice that could impact generations to come. And they'll be answering the question of how is the sports world adjusting? We've definitely seen adjustments recently. We saw when the NBA came back that they had Black Lives Matter messaging on the courts, a very different time than when Colin Kaepernick was criticized by a lot of people for kneeling during the national anthem in order to protest racial injustice. So in order to get to the bottom of the answers to those questions, Tiffany Tarpley and Dave, Dino, DeNatale will be hosting a conversation about social justice in sports with 3 special guests. Those guests include Peter John Batiste, the Vice President of Communications for the Cleveland Browns, Kevin Clayton, the Vice President of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Jason Lloyd, who is the Editor-in-Chief of The Athletic Cleveland. That's tonight at 6:30 p.m., and you can stream that on WKYC.com, in our WKYC app, also live on YouTube and live on Facebook. So make sure you check that out again tonight with Dino and Tiffany. That is at 6:30 p.m. That's it for your 3 News Now afternoon update for Wednesday, August 5th. I will see you at 5 p.m. on What's New with your trending stories in Clicking in Cleveland. And if you download our WKYC app, you can stream that live right from the app. And then I'll see you back here tomorrow for 3 News Now. Everyone have a great afternoon, and I'll see you then. This is Stephanie Haney.